I'd like to call this Bristol Borough Council work session to order. We'll start with Lorraine.
I went to Carlos Rivera's welcome home party on Saturday night at the Elks, and it was great. There were a lot of people there, and I think Carlos really enjoyed himself. I want to talk about Mill Run. We had a meeting on Thursday, September 30th, with Bob White and the owners of the building, and he had told us that on September 22nd, the DEP approved the final report and identified the substances and remediated it to an Act 2 standard within the site specified. Okay, so anyway, it's clear of the problems that it was having, and they're going to start within the next 2 weeks putting new windows in, which they already have purchased. And they got a couple permits from us that day, and you know, you should start to see a lot of work going on there. So very exciting, and that's it. That's all I have.
I just want to thank you for being on top of this project. I know you're putting a lot of time in during the day, meeting with people, so it's going to be a great project for your ward and for the entire borough, so thank you.
Thank you.
And also, Mr. Pezza. Dave.
Yes, thank you, Bob. Last month, Mr. Dillon, Mr. Winslow, myself, and Congressman Mike Fitzpatrick, Chief of Staff Stacy, jumped in Mr. Winslow's truck concerning the North Ward. We did stop on Route 13 Highway, took a look at the basin, the water retention basin. We made our concerns and comments known to Stacy. Pictures were taken and notes were taken. From there, we went to Spruce Street, checked out the fence that Amtrak put up and the overgrown brush. From there, we went to Pine Street, checked out the fence again that the residents cannot get into anymore. The overgrown weeds and shrubs inside, and on Pine Street, the outside was looking bad too, with grass about 12 to 15 inches high. We then went to Corson Street Bridge and got out of the truck and actually talked to the Amtrak workers, and got some feedback from them, and Stacy got to meet them also. From there, we went down Garden Street, checked out the Garden Street fence, looked at Beaver Street Bridge, went down to Jefferson Avenue, and looked at the Jefferson Avenue Bridge, and that was our day. The reason that Mr. Dillon and Mr. Winslow reached out to Congressman Fitzpatrick's office was the fact that myself, Mr. Dillon, and Mr. Winslow, Amtrak is really not paying attention to us, and we figured we'd get a bigger baseball bat and see if we could get Amtrak to be a better neighbor. So concerning Pine Street, Mr. Dillon called them. They wouldn't respond. The borough was nice enough to clean up the Pine Street Bridge area. I want to thank them for that. I also would like to remind the residents that it is not borough property, and with the borough giving your residents a shot in the arm, maybe you could keep up with it. Also, Mr. Dillon gave Amtrak a citation. Where that goes, we don't know, but we're fining them because they're not good neighbors. A couple questions on those statements. Now that PennDOT is done over there, they got the grass out. Who's responsible for the grass now, Mr. Dillon? Cutting that grass over there. There was a private citizen today behind the Elks. Did a nice job, cleaned out some of behind the Elks, but there's still a lot over there.
The borough still hasn't accepted the Route 13 final project yet. Matter of fact, the engineer and George went out last week, and we're going to be sending PennDOT a very lengthy letter pointing out all the issues that we feel still have to be addressed. But in particular, that grass, we're still pushing PennDOT to have that cut. But certainly, there's been a big improvement, but there's still some areas there that we feel they should be responsible for cutting at this moment, so.
Okay, thank you.
While you're on that subject, I went down the other day, and there's already people putting signs in that area. I mean, are we going to have to police that every day, or is there an ordinance or something we could pass that if somebody puts a sign there, basically, if we take that, is that private property, or no?
What is this?
The needle strip on Route 13, there are already people putting signs, not election signs, just like something for sale, or
It's not our property.
it's theirs.
It's their property. We just agreed to maintain it under our agreement. But that's-
Because I could
that's a state
foresee
road.
this is going to become a major issue with everybody just putting signs out there constant.
Right, it's a distraction. Plus, when our guys go to cut it, we're going to have to pull them off. That becomes a problem. I guess we're going to have to put PennDOT on notice. That's their property. I don't think we agreed to,
But I mean, are we going to have to police this every day now, go up and down 13 pulling signs out? I guess there's no other option if they're, I don't know, I think it's going to become a problem. I'm sorry, I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
That's okay. The other thing here, maybe Mr. Winslow could answer this if he would, please. All those flags and measurements, is that to see how fast that water and retention basin goes down? Or, I know you said last time it's a measurement to get that right. I did see some plants growing in there. Did they plant special plants in that basin, or?
I think that's what the colors are on the streamers, to identify the different kind of plants to see what's growing and what's not, to give them a better idea. So they may have to replace the ones that aren't growing with the ones that are.
Okay. Thank you. And the other question is, they're working on Corser Street Bridge right now. Are they planning on doing Beaver Jefferson Avenue also? Do you know?
I would assume they are, because all the bridges are in the same shape. I mean, as you know, when we were out there that day, Tracy asked them about the deck. That's the main crux of the bridge. And they're working on a plan now to do the deck, which by the time they're ready to get to it, the walls are going to be in disrepair again. You can see it already on Spruce Street.
Yeah, you're right, Ron. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's all I got.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Dillon and the crew. I know they've been in the South Ward quite a bit, and a lot of times when we have absentee landlords or property that seems somewhat abandoned, I just want to say that we're working as a borough as fast as we can. Sometimes people think that we can go in, and we can't really go in and do some of the things we'd like to do without going through the proper channels. So if they'll be patient and work with us, we'd love to get this stuff cleared up, and a lot of it has gotten tended to this past month. The other thing, as a public service announcement here, I just wanted to mention that the Boy Scouts, the Lower Bucks Scouting Breakfast is October 27th. It's a Thursday at Lower Bucks Hospital, and they are honoring Chief George McClay of Marsville. Many of us met George in our search for a chief. He was involved with Chief Calusi, and he was also here during a potential public disturbance, and
It's a breakfast?
it's a breakfast at Lower Bucks, and then he's very involved with scouting in Philadelphia, and I learned that when we were here. So the Scouts are honoring him, and as Woman of the Year, they're honoring Lorraine Luciana from Luciana Brothers in Tullytown. So if anybody needs any information, they can give me a call, or it's online, and it's a very nice event, and we have a good scouting program in town. and this helps us, keeps it moving. That's all I have.
Tony,
I don't have anything, thank you.
Patrick,
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. A few days I'd like to put down for certain people to have them represented. On October 9th, I'd like to have that day given to Mr. Charlie Sims, a former councilman and a very well-loved crossing guard. October 11th, to Bernard Mizaki, owner of the Canal Works. I urge people, both in the political arena and people that are residents of Bristol Borough, to go to that building and get an idea of what he has done there. It's a beautiful historic building and I think is the pinnacle of all of Bucks County. So those 2 days and those 2 dates are for those two gentlemen. Thank you.
Eddie,
Yeah, first, I'd like to thank Jose Ayala and Joyce Torres from Bristol High School that are here with us tonight, and seeing us on our best behavior tonight, because we have these lovely students here. So we're really behaving tonight, just for you guys. Yeah, right? Also, Merle, I saw an email regarding the underpass on Bath Street. We wanted SEPTA or somebody to come and clean it. Did you hear back from them or anything?
Merle, can you use, so everybody knows? That's no problem.
That started a year ago in September on the 1st of last year, to try to get them to do that bridge when we first started talking about that. And then Mr. Riccio brought it up again, and I went right back to Bill Hollister in New York. Never got an answer back from him, so then I jumped from Amtrak to SEPTA and tried to get that on the SEPTA safety side, and it ended up Jerry, I can't think of his last name now. He jumped right back on it, and he got the guy from SEPTA, and they were supposed to start that job the week after I announced it at council the last time, and it hasn't started yet. So I sent the guy from Amtrak, a newer guy who works in New Jersey, an email, and he has yet to respond back to me.
Okay.
So we're after him every chance.
All right, I appreciate that. Maybe, Mr. Dillon, I know in the past, we went to Paul Goslin Jr., and we asked the fire company to hose it down, because we do have a lot of people that walk from the diner and Walmart underneath that bridge. If maybe we can, I hate to say it, put it on them, if they wouldn't mind just hosing it down one more time until we hear from SEPTA, because it might be a long time before we hear from them. I also want to thank Lorraine for representing council at Carlos's welcoming. I also want to thank Diane Colon, Alexia Rosari, all the people that were involved. I'm sure there were many, many people who welcomed him back to Bristol. I was unable to make it, but I heard it was a really nice event. It's nice to see the community express their welcome to people like Carlos that always work hard to keep our town safe.
Betty, can I add something? I know that the King George, the Cantina, Caesars.
Yeah.
What's the place up on Route 1, Italian?
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
Yes.
I think all the restaurants in town support
Yeah,
it.
I'm
everybody
telling you,
donated.
everyone, and it was really, really a nice event because
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
And someone donated the beer. I'm so sorry, I can't remember.
Yeah, I didn't hear the name. I heard it was a private donation, but I heard they did.
That was wonderful for the community to come together like that for Carlos, but he deserves it.
Yes. And, thank you to all the people that made that happen. I also wanted to thank Jamie Geddes. She came here last month, and she was representing A Woman's Place, which is celebrating 40 years. And on Saturday, we had the pleasure of meeting and going around town and tying purple ribbons to show everyone that we do support this. In the future, when we decide to do something like this, I'd like to see somebody, if not her, somebody from this staff here, reach out to the kids from Bristol, because there were a lot of kids from Ben Salem, but I was just a little disappointed that, I don't think it was anybody's fault or anybody meant anything, but I'd like to see our own community get more involved. You know, when you have something like this going on and you're tying ribbons, I know people are busy, but I just felt we needed to see more borough community people out there. But I appreciate it, it was a great event, and if you see purple ribbons, I hung them. No, I wasn't the only one, but, you know.
Betty, a lot of people were talking about the fact that you were out there, and they were thrilled that you were out there.
Yeah,
so-
I wanted to help. And let me tell you, I went down Mill Street, and I went into Maria Marucci's shop, I went into Jimmy Mason's shop. I went to a lot of the shops. I even went to Daryl's shop where him and his mother own. It was just so welcoming to see everybody welcome us in and putting the flyers up, and it's nice. I mean, it's a shame, to me, there should be more shops open on Saturday, but, you know, that's just me. But it was really nice, and I appreciate it all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Herbie?
I just want to thank the council for helping the fire department continue to look for alternate sources of revenue for the radio projects. I'm also requesting that the council could issue a proclamation for next week declaring Fire Prevention Week from the 9th to the 15th in Bristol Borough. This year's themes: don't wait, check the date, replace smoke alarms every 10 years. And we're finding that when we do our smoke alarm project, probably at least 50% of the smoke alarms that we're coming across are more than 10 years old.
Herbie, and we do have smoke alarms available for people that don't have them, right?
Yes, we have smoke alarms available, we don't have carbon monoxide alarms
Right,
available.
you might want to, you know, put the number out there for people, because I saw on Neighbors Helping Neighbors, somebody looking for, you know, smoke detectors, and they didn't know where to go.
And the ones that we're using, that we've used all along, have 10-year batteries in them, so that at the end, you never have to replace the battery, and at the end, when it starts to chirp, you just get rid of the smoke alarm. And then the second part of that is the CO alarms should be replaced every 5 years.
Okay.
They only last for 5 years, although they do have new ones that are good for 10 years. On Sunday, October 9th, is the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service. One of the things that they have to do with that program is called Bells Across America, and they try to get communities involved with the churches or whatever to ring the bells on Sunday. So our plan right now, and what we've set up, is we're going to ring the bell on our fire station. We've also made arrangements with Father Mooney to have the bells at St. Anne's and St. Mark's rung on Sunday as part of that program.
That's nice.
Nice.
Yesterday, I went to the Bucks County Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service in Doylestown. That's always a very moving event. And one of the reasons is that in Bristol Borough, we have 4 of the line of duty deaths. And also in conjunction with the church bringing, I've asked if the priest could mention the names of the 4 firefighters in Bristol Borough that had lost their lives in the line of duty as a remembrance for them. Today we were in all the schools in Bristol Borough. We were at St. Anne's, Warren Snyder, and the Radcliffe Learning Center doing the fire prevention program. We'll be in more schools tomorrow and Wednesday, and that'll finish the program up. And then the mayor is also, we're always looking for fire police. I have approximately 9 people that are interested. There's a confirmation letter that's required from the mayor. He signed them off tonight. So we'll make arrangements to have them sworn in, and then we're just waiting for some badges.
St. Mark's School.
Yes. We were there this morning.
No, you said St. Anne's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just-
I meant
just for the-
I
That's a habit.
meant St. Anne's, the church is
Right.
going to ring the bell on
I just
Sunday.
wanted, just for the record.
Okay, yes.
Anybody have anything for Herbie?
On the battery, the 10-year life cycle, when we do inspections, I know they check the batteries and see if they're operational. If they see that they're over 10 years, are we suggesting to landlords that they change the unit, or is it mandatory
Well,
that
they
they change the
should,
unit?
once you get to that 10-year part, the detector sensitivity drops, and so they're not going to be as sensitive. The only way, the problem with that is checking dates, is that then you have to remove the detector and try to read the manufacturer's date on the back of the detector. So Like I said, we have detectors, and the ones where we go out and we replace detectors for people, we're looking at 10 years or more. We actually had somebody gave us a detector, I think I said this before, in the box, asked us to mount it, and the manufacture date was 1998. They had it in the box for all that time and never installed it, which is why we generally do not hand out smoke alarms.
Harvey, can you just give the number out to where they can call if they need a...
They can call my fire station, 215-785-1975.
Thank you.
Or they could call into the borough, one of the borough numbers, and extension 27 is the fire chief's number,
Okay, thank you.
and we'll get back to them.
Anything else for the chief?
No.
Police chief.
I just want to thank the council. We received probably 75 to 80% of all the gear for the crossing guards, so the high visibility gear, so it's, we appreciate that and they appreciate it. We also continued with some additional training. They were giving out actual handouts and booklets, and thank you for the additional substitute crossing guards, so that got us a couple more in the queue, and that was always a big help. On October 22nd, in cooperation with the Drug Enforcement Administration and Bucks County District Attorney's Office, we'll be hosting Operation Take Back. That's if you have your unused prescriptions and medication. Will be October 22nd. I'll give a copy of it. We can put it on the website if you would, please. Between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., we staff it with a police officer through a grant through the county, and people can bring in their unused medications. In this day and age, we find out that is a huge gateway to the youth, to the drug world. So anybody that has these medications, please contact your great aunt, your grandmothers and stuff like that. Check their medicine cabinets. A lot of times they have those painkillers, laying in there for years, and the kids come over, and that's the avenue. So we'd appreciate it if you can get the word out, and we'll be taking care of that.
Anybody, anything for the chief? Either maybe Herbie or Merle can answer. Why is the fact that you don't want to, or the chief, why you don't dump the pills down the drain?
Oh, yeah.
What was the thing
Tell
on
people.
that?
Actually, it's also contaminating the water supply.
There was something with, Merle, what was that gets...
Yeah, it goes down the lane and it can kill the bacteria at the sewer plant.
So just dumping stuff down there that's why we're doing these take back.
Correct.
So everybody said that for years, I should just flush them,
Right. And the other thing is we are not taking hypodermic needles, so if you're diabetic, you still have to turn your sharps into whoever, but we can't take them.
I wanted to say thank you to the chief and the officers for, and I don't want to say where or whatever, but you guys have been patrolling an area for us, and we're thankful for it.
We appreciate
The
it.
people are calling, and they're very happy that it's been going on, because it's deterred a lot of problems.
Right, and we had several other calls from other people in town, similar events, and, we try to respond the best we can to fashion, and I'll say it again every time it's a public service announcement, it is nothing better than calling that non-emergency number at Bucks County Communications.
Which is?
Oh, you always correct me. It's 215-788.
7811.
Thank you. As somebody else-
7811.
7811.
And don't be afraid to call the police.
And you can call anonymously if you have a situation. That way we know, unfortunately, the way it works in the world, the squeaky wheel gets the service. It also documents this for us. It also makes it much easier for us when you have, say you have a problem with a roof in an area, and it's their residence. It's much easier for us to arrive there on a complaint than it is for us as the police to stop at somebody's private residence and say, hey, what's going on, especially in this day and age. So we need the help of the public as much as they need ours.
Mr. President, can I have a
Yes.
second? Because I forgot a couple things.
Go ahead. Don't let it happen again.
On Saturday night, I attended the BHS class of 76, which is not my class, I'm younger than that, but a reunion, and it was at the King George. There were about 50 people there. And I just want to say, the King George was so accommodating to this group. It was just really nice. And then afterwards, we went to the Bristol Moose. So we're keeping it local, and we had a great time. And, you know, please support our businesses in Bristol. Also, this is what the building will look like. Matt, would you please, I forgot to say this, show what the Mill Run building will look like, the new windows that they're going to put in?
So we're definitely going with this? This is
Yes,
what's
that's
gonna
it.
look-
That's the rendition of what it's going to look like. Thank you, Matt.
Is that it?
Can I just piggyback on the one thing?
Whatever you
And
want to
finish
do.
Mill Run?
Go ahead.
The DEP report was to enact 2 cleanup standard,
Oh,
which
I
is a
forgot about that.
residential standard, so
Yes.
that's the highest standard. So it is
Residential
residential,
standard,
which is
that's right.
significant cleanup, so.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll mention that.
Do you have anything else, Jim?
Just the agenda, consider adopting the Bucks County Hazardous Mitigation Plan. This is an ongoing update, and this is their latest revision. Merrill has been the representative for the borough at these meetings, and he has signed off on it, and the county has asked for the council to pass a resolution on this subject, so it'll be on your agenda for Monday evening. Also on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the installation of stop signs on Jefferson Avenue at Canal for vehicles traveling south and north on Jefferson Avenue. Did you have anything before I?
I'm gonna, yeah, I have a few things.
Then I'll come back to the last thing.
Okay. All right, I want to put on the agenda to fill an open seat on the zoning board for Monday evening. It's an alternate seat, it's not a permanent seat, so I want to get that seat filled. Just to let everybody know that we had a budget meeting last week, and we'll have another one tomorrow. I have appointed Councilman Gerard, Catroci, and Ricchio to that committee. And the 4 of us met last week with the chief and the mayor. We're going to meet again tomorrow night at 5:30 to keep working towards trying to balance this budget. So I think it's working out good, the way we're handling it right now. And then we will come into a public meeting, hopefully by the end of October, beginning of November, hopefully with a balanced budget, and we can move forward. But I think it's working good, and if anybody from council has any concerns that they want to forward to the manager, or things they've been looking at, you get a sheet every month in your packet, so there's, just look at it and see what, if you have any questions or concerns. The other thing is on Wednesday, October 19th, at 11 a.m., the bids will be due for the new trash contract, which is a major thing that goes on. This contract's been with the same company now for the last 7 years or more, right? 12 years. So there's all kind of options in there that, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 2 year options. So everybody has a opportunity to bid this. It's going to be open in a public setting here in Borough Hall on October 19th at 11 a.m. Anybody's welcome to be here. If any members of council wants to be here, you're welcome to be here for the bid opening.
When we were talking about, we were going to do this, we had talked about what we might want as far as like we're still having an issue in town about TVs.
It's all addressed in the new contract.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Everything's addressed in the new contract.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the public. Anybody in the public have anything on this side want to speak about? Anybody on this side want to speak about anything? So that's no public participation. We're moving like Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I got it highlighted, too. When we did CARES Day in Bristol with Comcast, the more help you had, nobody knew it, but there was grant money available. So Comcast is going to write us a check to the borough for $5,262.20.
Oh, that's
Wow, good one.
What I would like to do, with council's permission, is give half of this money to Raising the Bar, who worked very hard on this, and the other half to the Garden Club. I mean, I know Paul Stillwagon and Shirley and Donna McCluskey will be very happy to receive $2,600.
And all of this.
They could do a lot with that.
And they were all instrumental in all this also.
Right, so if nobody has an option, opposed, I'd like to put that on the agenda for...
Sounds great.
And they were all instrumental that day
They
in
were.
helping,
I mean,
and we were
they
all down
deserve,
there.
they really did a lot, and I think they deserve the money, so we'll split it between the two groups
That's
and
great.
let them do what they want with it.
Sounds like
So,
it.
you know, so make that an agenda item for Monday evening. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Dillon, it's up to you.
Okay, if you remember, last month, there was a resident who's been going back and forth to the school board about the school district refinancing as well as the borough's financing through the Delaware Valley Regional Financing Authority. I forwarded all the documentation to Mr. Calhoun, who's here this evening. Lucian, can you walk up there, because there's a microphone and whatever, and you're on TV, and Mr. Calhoun emailed a report late this afternoon. I made a copy. It's basically 3 pages. The third page is just a bunch of numbers, but I'd just like him to just try to address succinctly the position that the reason the school board did not go to Delaware Valley Regional Financing was that they felt that you deal with swaps, and that's a very risky endeavor. So I'd like if you could just address those concerns, because I did send you all the data that was given to us. So.
Good evening. Before I get into this, every time I walk in this room, I remember what it looked like before the renovations. And it's just fantastic the way this building has been renovated. With regard to interest rate swap transactions being a risky, dangerous instrument, they're no different than any other financial instrument. Used appropriately, they're beneficial, but they can be abused. In Pennsylvania, notably, the Bethlehem Area School District and the Harrisburg Authority did abuse use of interest rate swaps. Interest rate swaps market is the biggest, the most liquid, and the most transparent market that exists. The market, as of September 23rd, had more than $515 trillion of transactions outstanding. During the week of September 23rd, there were 5.5 million transactions for more than $15.4 trillion notional amount. The interest rate swap market is the market that the Federal Reserve Bank, the European Central Bank, and all the other central banks utilize to affect their interest rate policies. It's also the market that corporations and financial institutions use to manage their interest rate risk. And Del-Val utilizes interest rate swaps to manage its interest rate risk and to manage the interest rate risk of participants in the loan program. The abuses that the Harrisburg Authority and the Bethlehem Area School District perpetrated, I guess would be the right word, where the principal abuse was they used swaps to borrow money. They got an upfront payment for a swap in return for making above-market payments in the future. That was the inducement for them to utilize the swaps, and that's the reason they kept digging themselves a bigger and bigger hole. The other abuse that they perpetrated was that they speculated on the differences between tax-exempt and taxable interest rates. They speculated on future interest rates. And they created an environment in which there was a conflict of interest of the bankers, of the financial advisors, and of the legal advisors that represented them. They created this conflict by allowing the counterparties to compensate their own advisors. All of these abuses are prohibited by Del Val's interest rate swap management policy. And it's prohibited for any participant in the loan program. Any participant in the Del Val loan program executes a swap management policy in which it provides that it will not abuse the swap, abuse any swap transactions in this fashion. For the past 5 years, Del Val has worked actively with the Senate Finance Committee, the Local Government Committee, the Senate Appropriations Committee, to have the prohibitions in Del Val swap management policy added to the Local Government Unit Debt Act and the Municipality Authorities Act. Unfortunately, those efforts at reform have been stymied by interest groups that represent banks, notably school districts, and bond counsel and other law firms. But Del Val has been very active in utilizing swaps appropriately. If the world ended tonight and Del Val had to terminate all the swap transactions that are outstanding, Del Val would receive more than $170 million for these transactions that it has executed. No participant in the Del Val loan program would ever have to make a payment as long as Del Val were in the money. With regard to the school district never contacted Del Val. The only contact Del Val had with the school district was after one of the board members called me a couple of weeks after it was discussed here in this meeting. I have no idea how they could make any kind of informed decision about the Delaware Valley Regional Finance Authority without having information about the Delaware Valley Regional Finance Authority. But, on a thumbnail, that's the summary that interest rate swaps are not a risky instrument in and of themselves, but they can be abused. And unfortunately, the Harrisburg Authority and the Bethlehem Area School District did abuse them.
So if in fact they had used Delaware Valley Regional Financing Authority with their refinancing, you stand here tonight and say that you could have saved them $1,361,000.
On the date of the sale, that would have been the savings that a Del Val loan would have offered. But more than that, the 2016 financings were a refunding of financing done in 2005. If the district had utilized Del Val for the original financing in 2005, it would not have needed to do a refunding in 2007 and then another refunding in 2016. They could have exercised their option to reset the interest rate at the then lower interest rates. And the ability to do that would have saved the school district almost $1 million in cost of issuance.
Also, besides the $1.3 million.
Correct.
Wow.
I think this is something that the manager feel so strongly about that he brought you back in tonight. This isn't really a council thing, but I think his job is to do the best job he can for the borough taxpayers. And I think when he looked at this and seen how neglect it really was on their part by not going out and shop this, and you could have saved all this money, I think that's what really bothered him. I don't even know how this thing really started, but, and I think there was a gentleman that said, you know, all you do is swaps, and that's why they didn't use you, because, and he read, I guess you got all the information from the manager, why it's so bad to use swaps, and I told him, I said, you know, people do this every day. And then I think the excessive spending in legal fees, and I think that you're saying that that's why the attorneys, some attorneys, want to use other means of finance because they can't make the money they're making that they would have made through going through the Delaware Valley Regional Commission, Del Val. So I think, you know, I think it bothered the manager to know that they could have saved $1.3 million. Now you're saying if they used you in the beginning, they could have saved another $1 million. And I don't think they would have spent $134,000 in legal fees. I think that was a total waste of money. That you pay an attorney to do an opinion letter. An opinion letter basically is just something that is a one piece of paper, two pieces of paper.
Two in our...
Maybe two pieces of paper to say that in his opinion, it was a good deal for the school district.
Yeah, it's even more narrow than that. It's just the validity and enforceability.
Right. But I'm saying, I mean, you know, $134,000 to write an opinion letter, or $50,000 to the school district solicitor, to me is insane. But, you know, if they don't have a problem with it, I don't know why can't, you know, it's really not anything we should be concerned with, but as taxpayers, we are concerned because theoretically, it's our money being wasted. So I think that's why Jim had you come in tonight, and I found out when you walked in, he said, by the way, I had you coming in this evening. So I don't know if anybody from council has any questions they would like to ask you. And I think, you have something? Mr. Dillon?
No, Lucian, thank you very much for your very
I just think
concise letter.
that, the only thing I would like to say, instead of this continuing, because I'm sure somebody may want to come now and say why you're wrong again, I think if that happens, I think maybe, and I would be more than happy to go to a school board meeting with you and maybe deal with it at that location, if they want to continue this. But I don't think there's any reason they're going to come out of this looking good, so I think the best thing is to let it die after tonight, on their part.
I think they will.
Thank you for driving in tonight, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have anything else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Tony, second by Lorraine. Motion